So welcome everybody. Thank you for coming today for our regular AOD partnership. I do apologize for the late notice on change as far as our schedules go. You have a copy of the agenda in front of you. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep our announcements rolling because, actually no, I take that back. I'm going to stop them so I can talk about them one at a time. But just to get started with the kind of the welcome and reports, one thing that I wanted to let everybody know is that the AOD Partnership, as a local nonprofit organization, is in the middle of some strategic planning, making sure that we continue to meet your needs. So I have to thank you again for all the feedback that we received through our partner updates, through different assessments and surveys and evals that we do. That has really helped inform us in this process. One of the kind of exciting thing is, and one of the opportunities that is in the community, is that we are just starting our recruitment for the 2021 season, or area, or time frame, term, that's the word. Our terms are 2-year terms. We're going to be recruiting, I believe, for up to 5 at-large members. So if people are interested, I will be sending those out in our weekly update. And looking around the room, majority, I think, if not all, of you guys do receive the weekly update through the AOD Partnership, which is why it's so important that we have people go through and do the sign-in. There should have been a sign-in on each one of the rows of tables. So if you signed in, I just ask at some point today we kind of pass that through the line again to make sure that those sign-ins take place. Because that's how we get you signed up for the weekly update. So if you're already on it, no problem. You're not going to be doubly on it or anything like that. But we're just kind of excited to have that opportunity to engage the community in that process. One of the things that I like to include in our weekly updates is the opportunity for job postings or volunteer opportunities. One of the job postings that's gone out lately is the Marathon County Restorative Justice Program through Goodwill. You work with Paula Schultz, the lovely Paula Schultz in the back, with our local youth. One thing that's exciting is that job posting has been up to a full-time position. 30 hours, up to 30 hours a week with benefits if you're eligible for those benefits. So that has changed. It initially was posted as a part-time. So if you know of anybody that's looking for a flexible full-time position with benefits and that loves to work with youth, I just encourage you to check out that listing this week. It'll be updated. And then I'm also just going to invite Ellen, if I could have you kind of maybe come up here just so we can get you on the mic. I'm sorry. You can stand back here if you want. Just hide. I'm going to have Ellen from Big Brothers Big Sisters talk about some of their needs at their organization.
Hi, I'm Ellen Drod from Big Brothers Big Sisters. We are desperately in need of bigs, in both community-based and school-based. We really need big brothers, especially. We have a long waiting list for kids, both in the schools and in the community. It's in the community. We ask for 1 hour once a week. If you guys could go hang out, you certainly can hang out longer than that. We do events once a month. Like this coming month in October, we're going to the pumpkin patch. So you guys are invited, to bring your little and come to the pumpkin patch with us. If you want to do school-based, even as an adult, you can do school-based. You might go in for a half hour. That's what I do once a week. I have lunch with my little and hang out with him, see what's going on. He's really into science, so I usually bring in a science experiment, and we do something really quick, over lunch, and, we usually meet in the library and just hang out. I mean, it's a really, really great opportunity, and we just really, I know so many people know that things have been going, tough in Wausau. There's just a 15-year-old involved, with shooting, and people are like, oh, I'd love to help out. Well, this is your way to help out. So, really, if you need us, we're here, and we have an excellent website. All our applications are right on there. If you'd love to help us out, we'd appreciate it. We also have our Big Taste event coming up at Granite Peak. It is the last Thursday of this month, so I believe that's October 26th, something right in there, too. It's a great way to support us, too. There's lots of vendors there with lots of good food, so we'd love to see you there.
Perfect. So you got the partner update in right away, too.
Thank you.
So that's going to be something that we'll send out again through the update. So if you do have any organizations that you know of that have adults in the community that are looking to volunteer and work with youth, if that's a passion of theirs, please help us spread the word. Even if you're maybe not eligible or thinking about it right now, you don't have the resources to do that, please help us, because we never know who maybe will jump on board for that. Other opportunities, in addition to the Big Taste event, is we did just wrap up National Recovery Month, but just because September's over doesn't mean we don't celebrate recovery every day. Recoverymonth.gov does have a ton of different resources and information available for the public to use. At the end, I should have mentioned, when you're done with your evaluations or CEU forms, you can bring them up to the front or leave them on the end of your row. We'll collect them at the end. If you're not aware, we do have a YouTube channel for the AOD Partnership. All of our meetings are recorded and posted there. And it's an opportunity for you to go back to what you've learned, or if you missed a meeting, to chime in or tune in to see kind of what you've missed. Usually there's about 15 minutes of business. If you want to fast forward past me, I do not take offense. We're going to come back to United Way resources. Edgar EMS and Edgar Schools is going to be hosting an Old Drugs New Threats presentation on the 23rd, which is Wednesday, in the evening at Edgar High School. Everybody is welcome to attend. I will be doing that presentation and talking a little bit about what we're seeing here in the community, including vaping that we're going to listen to today. Some state opportunities that have gone out through the weekly update, just kind of as a reference to you within the next couple weeks. And one of the things that we're going to be scheduling for December, I don't know how many of you guys have heard of Ben is Back. It's a movie starring Julia Roberts that kind of talks about her son that has a long history of addiction. And it's actually filmed and recorded over the holidays. So that's why we're going to be looking at showing this in December. We're still working on the location and the exact date, but this is going to be a free event for people to attend, and it's about a 2-hour movie. We're just really excited to partner with Danny's Journey, which, if you're not familiar, Danny Volkman was a young lady who passed away, well, 5 years ago now. She was a student with DC Everest School District. Her parents, after she passed away, put together a fundraising effort to help support substance abuse prevention, healthy relationships, and mental health initiatives. So they're going to be purchasing the copyright for us to be able to show it publicly. So if you have any ideas, we are looking at, again, locations that will be able to seat folks. We're looking at places like UWMC, some of our local schools, if the auditoriums are available in December. I'm not for sure with Christmas concerts and stuff what that may look like. So with that, I'm going to ask Majir to come up and just give us a update on some of the resources that United Way has available for those that aren't currently aware. I'm going to get out of your way.
All right. Good morning, everyone. As Melissa mentioned, my name is Majir Amua. I'm the 211 Program Director out of the United Way of Marathon County office. We serve 8 counties, one of them including Marathon. For those who aren't aware of what 211 is or what we do, we're a 24/7 helpline for community information referrals to Health and Human Services. Since October 22nd of last year, the 211 Wisconsin Network, which is comprised of 8 regional centers, received a grant from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services to operate the Wisconsin Addiction Recovery Helpline. Between October 22nd of last year and September 16 of this year, we've handled over 5,000 calls as a statewide network for the Wisconsin Addiction Recovery Helpline. For our 8-county Marathon County service area, we've handled about 420 requests for AODA services. For Marathon County alone, we have handled over 140 requests for AODA and recovery services. Just to give you an idea of the types of requests that come to the Wisconsin Addiction Recovery Helpline and the work that our specialists have been able to do, are 2 stories, and I've changed the names for confidentiality purposes. Sherry contacted the Wisconsin Addiction Recovery Helpline seeking drug assessment resources that accept Badger Care. She uses meth and ecstasy. The specialist gave Sherry the phone number for the Badger Care income maintenance and warm transferred her to her county's assessment program. During a follow-up with Sherry, she shared with us that she was able to get assistance and has an appointment set up for her first assessment. She also shared with us that she wants to be a better person for her kids and for herself, and she was really thankful for the resources that she received from us. Also, Matt contacted the Recovery Helpline seeking outpatient treatment for drug use and mental health services. He was going through treatment for his substance use, but was looking for outpatient treatment that will provide both mental health and treatment services. The specialist referred Matt to his county's assessment service. During a follow-up call with him, he shared with us that he is now enrolled in an outpatient treatment program. So these are the types of needs and requests that we receive across the state. It is a confidential helpline, and our staff have been trained to do assessment and make sure that we provide appropriate referrals to local as well as statewide resources. Additionally, we do also provide print publications for Marathon County residents, and they are up here at the front. We have our 2019-2020 Give and Get Help Guide, which the first section lists volunteer opportunities for Marathon County, and then the Get Help section is a mini directory of resources that are available to Marathon County residents. I also brought copies of our Choosing a Counselor publication, which is managed and produced out of our United Way of Marathon County 211 office. And this is a list of mental health professionals that provide services in the county as well. And if you need more, feel free to stop by the United Way office or call us, and we would be happy to get the number of copies that you want ready for you to pick up from our office. I think that's it.
Thank you. Ooh, great. Okay. So is there any other partner updates we can run the room? Anything else that anybody would like to share coming up? So just a heads up for our next AOD partnership meeting, it will be on December 3rd. We're going to be talking about medication abuse in Marathon County. We are in the middle of our 5th installment of our community assessment on prevalence and perceptions of medication abuse. The purpose of that assessment is to look at prevalence of abuse, perception of risk, perception of availability, and our local diversion or disposal efforts. This, like I said, it's our 5th installment. This one is going to be supported by Aspire's Health Foundation. We're kind of excited to release the results of this, but I can tell you the response rate is impressive. Just to give you an example, we sent out 1,900 surveys just in the metro, the 4 zip codes within the metro area, and within 2 weeks we had about 20 shy of our goal of 380. And that's a mailed survey, it's voluntary, people just fill it out and send it back. I mean, the response has been great. We're actually near about 500 people returning that survey. So in the metro, and then our non-metro residents, we're pretty close to our goal there too. So we'll be releasing the goal there, the trends. Also, one other quick update that's not part of this is that Wausau Police Department and Wausau Fire Department in their lobby actually has our first community sharps drop box. So anybody that's looking at getting disposing of sharps safely in the community, for whatever purpose, this could be your EpiPens, this could be your insulin needles, this could be a variety of reasons why you would have sharps. Those will be accepted. You can bring them there, you can put them, dump them right into the receptacle, or you can put your containers that you maybe brought them in right in there. We're excited to work with LB Waste on that. As well as we have added, and we'll start promoting the newest Dropbox locations. We are one shy of having every single police department in this county with a Dropbox. Stratford and Mosinee both installed their Dropboxes within the last couple weeks. So we have one municipality left. I'm going to look to some of my school people to put the hammer down on that community. No, I'm just kidding. We have resources available, so I anticipate that that's going to happen by the end of the year. So we'll release all of those locations at the same time. So with that, just a reminder that all the materials today, including a packet that Jenna's going to talk about, have been posted to our AOD Partnership website. In the calendar for this appointment, you'll find them there. There's actually a Google Drive link for the entire packet that was put together. Don't forget to sign in. A number of other resources up here, and make sure that you don't walk out of here hungry. Those goldfish are calling. Jenna, would you like to come up? This is my colleague Jenna Flynn with the Marathon County Health Department. I'll have her introduce herself. Your click here.
Do I need to stay by this mic?
No, just within this area. Don't go past the TV.
Okay.
Chris will tell you if he can't hear you. He's not shy. Down there. There you go.
Thanks.
No problem.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today. I'm happy to see some new faces and some old faces, and you know, some of you that made the drive. I really do appreciate that. Before we get started, I am not going to ask you to do introductions, but I do need to know some information before I get started, because there's some of you in the room I see who have maybe heard some of the content that I'm going to present today, which is okay. I hope you leave with something new, and then others who may not be familiar with the content that we're going to present at all. So if we could do kind of a rapid fire up and down the rows of a question that you have related to e-cigarettes and tobacco, or something that you're looking to learn today. And if you can't come up with something, you can say pass, and that's totally fine. So I am going to put Sierra on the spot here, and then we'll just go down. We'll kind of weave if that's okay.
I just think anything that's current and up to date, because I think this is a fast-moving topic. That's what I'm interested in. I recently read about the deaths due to vaping in Milwaukee, and I've got my niece's children are doing vaping, and so I just got some concerns about that.
Thank you.
I would like some physical handouts to give to people about information.
I have a teen and I work with teens, so whatever is the most recent information.
Okay.
Current issues as well as resources.
I'm curious, I read recently that some of the manufacturers said that they're not going to manufacture the flavored ones towards teens, but I'm wondering if that's what we're going to manufacture or not.
Not manufacturing or not marketing?
Well, they're not marketing it towards them.
Okay.
Working at school, and we have a huge rise in vaping, and we're writing for a mini grant next week, and we're looking for any kind of tools or tips or resources we can put into that mini grant.
Okay.
I have a friend that continues to vape, and I'm just looking, and I have been effective in helping him see that it's not good for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just looking for maybe some new info that I can use that will help me tip the scale.
Okay. You should share about that mini grant.
Yep. Like they said, just kind of current trends and stuff like that.
Okay.
As an educator, I'm just trying to get more information and if there's anything new out there.
Same for me. We both teach high school health, and I think the perception of what our students have versus what the real perception or what it really is off, like there's missing pieces. So they think they know why these deaths are happening and the media is blowing it out of proportion. But I'd like to see what they're saying it is compared to what it really is.
Yep, the same, work at a high school, looking at resources, prevention, education. We've just seen a rise in the number of students that they think it's safe, and how do we get information to them, quality educational programs, and fusing it into a curriculum, those kind of things.
I put the current trends.
Thank you.
I think I'm just looking for what's that catch for youth too. I mean, how do we get youth to see that what's happening with vaping happened so many years ago with combustibles, and how do we make that connection?
Information and referral.
Looking at some collaboration between our communities and the Department of Health Services.
Yeah, I want to know what local and state governments can do.
And I'm looking for curriculum ideas, things I can use in working one-on-one with the students that I work with in our community. Something that will be beneficial for them, or something that they can grasp.
Thank you.
Any of my questions are already up there?
Mine also.
Thank you.
I work with delinquent youth in our community, and I want to make sure that I understand the latest language or slang that is possibly used with vaping.
Please help with that. Good.
I would just say resources, that's what we're looking for.
Okay. Awesome, thank you. That is helpful for me. I think we're gonna cover a lot of that, and we'll make sure at the end to open it up for questions as well, but I do want this to be more of a discussion, because I know how I like to be presented to, and it's not to be talked at for an hour, so please interrupt me so we can have that dialogue, because I believe that's the best way to learn. So as Melissa said, my name is Jenna, and I serve as the coordinator for the Central Wisconsin Tobacco Free Coalition, and that serves Marathon, Wood, and Portage counties. Throughout the state, there are coalitions that work as a movement to address tobacco prevention and specifically e-cigarette prevention more recently. So you can see how we're spread out throughout the state, and we really work collaboratively to try to make waves in the state of Wisconsin. So with that, today we're going to talk about local vaping trends, learn about resources. You guys will leave with some resources, hopefully, and just gain an understanding of, you know, what's been in the news and why we should be concerned. And we just really, I want you guys to take away some of those key talking points that you can use with your students, with your kids, with your friends, and then, you know, really anybody else. So what we've been seeing nationally is that 20% or 1 in 5 teenagers have been using the products. And then what we know for Wisconsin, we have the 2018 Youth Tobacco Survey data. That's the most current, so I suspect this number has changed. But our most current information tells us that 1 in 5 high schoolers use e-cigarettes, and then 1 in 9 middle schoolers have used e-cigarettes. Now, just asking in the audience, how do you feel about these numbers? I know some of you probably work with youth that use the products more often, but do you feel like these numbers speak to what you're seeing or something different?
I'd say it's higher.
Higher? Higher too? Okay. And my understanding was that the school districts do have their YRBS data now, but we don't have that information yet. But we're hoping to at least have that to be able to, you know, do some of our prevention work with that information. But just know that it isn't just a high school issue too. And speaking, you know, I don't want to just focus on youth today. That is our primary focus, but adults are also using the products too. They're being targeted in a different way now, and I'll get into that later. But the percentage of use of older adults is pretty low compared to teens. Teens are using the products the most out of anybody in the U.S. So I do have to show this slide. I am sorry for others who have already seen this, but I just need to explain the basics of the e-cigarettes so we're all on the same page. Essentially, all of the products have a battery piece, a vaporizer that essentially heats the e-liquid and vaporizes it into an aerosol, and then a mouthpiece where the user would inhale. When you're speaking with others, I would encourage you not to call the liquid vapor. It's really aerosol because the user's inhaling chemicals. Vapor is more associated with water. But these are some of the new products that we're looking at. So this is like one of them on the slide here, and then the Juul obviously is a little bit different looking, but they're all intended for the same purpose, and that's to inhale that whatever the user has inside their device. Any questions with that? So all of the devices have a battery, and then all of the devices either use e-liquid for the product, or they have pod-based, where the pod actually contains the e-liquid in it. The user would have to purchase the pods, and then they'd be ready to go. These can also be manipulated to put other substances in them, which I'm sure if you're in the schools or just familiar with what's been in the news, that's no surprise to you. Yes?
My apologies for my ignorance. I'm still learning.
Oh, please do.
So, for the devices, can they be purchased online without being asked for your age?
Yes. Yes, so that is, well, I'm sorry, I'll correct myself. There's usually a box that says, "Are you 21?" It's really intense. And then the user would just have to have a debit card or credit card. So I've clicked on some of those websites just to see. There's just a pop-up box, you know, just like some of those other restricted websites. So that is one thing we'll talk about more, but the FDA does have control to regulate many of these issues, and they have not yet, and advertisement is one of those things. The internet is a super complicated world right now, and it would be really hard to regulate, but that doesn't mean it's not possible.
One of the things to remember with purchasing is
if you have a young person that says, yeah, I'd like Amazon gift cards, for example, or I would like the little Visa credit cards, the prepaid cards, all those can be used online without any sort of age restrictions to them. So just be kind of wary about that.
Thank you. So with that, we know that big tobacco is still here. And these are some advertisements I've used in previous presentations, but I just think even for me to revisit them, it really hits home that big tobacco has not reinvented the wheel here. And they're using a lot of the same tactics, the same playbook to target a new generation of users that already have become addicted to nicotine. And now that you've seen and heard in the news, we're gonna switch, we're not gonna have flavors anymore, we're not gonna advertise anymore. They don't need to, because they already have millions addicted. They've already done their job. They don't even need to advertise because the youth are doing it for them. This is this picture was taken in Portage County. What do you notice? Yeah, why are there Beanie Babies next to cigarillos? Why? That's not a coincidence. So this really just grinds my gears, because this doesn't really have to do with the retailer. It has to do with advertisement and some of these big companies paying for product placement. In the state of Wisconsin, this is not something that is regulated. So this is perfectly legal. So if you go into your retailers and see that the products are all behind the counter, you should give them a congrats, because they really don't have to do that. Most of your e-cigarettes you will see behind the counters just because they are more pricey. But things like this are common, and especially in some of the bigger cities, it's not a surprise. So it's just a reminder that this kind of advertisement is taking place locally. So this is just an image of some of the trending products maybe you've seen, maybe you've confiscated, maybe you've learned about this year. I do want to go through and pull up some of these links so you can see what some of the other trending products are that I've just learned about, like last week. So this is that pop-up that we were talking about. So this one, we sent this out recently in one of our coalition updates, but this is an e-cigarette. It looks like an Apple Watch. It can be removed from the actual watch or the actual band part, and it's intended for the same use. I'm curious, have any of the districts seen anything like this yet? Maybe you have and you didn't realize it. How many of you, is this the first time seeing this product? Raise your hand. Okay. All right, so we learned something today. I feel accomplished. Okay.
What's fascinating, before you move on to the next, all these resources, they have these videos, and they'll tell you all about their products. They're shameless. Check them out. Check them out. If you're not comfortable going to one of the vape stores, you can definitely find a lot at their websites.
So Vapeware, my understanding, Melissa, you can speak to this too, is a brand that creates different kinds of products that actually are e-cigarettes in their truest form, right? So like there are hoodies that actually have drawstrings that can be used for e-cigarette use. Is that right, Melissa?
Right, and this isn't new per se. The sweatshirts, the hoodies like that, I think the first time I heard about them was about 4 years ago. But with the rise of, with the vaping rise now becoming more mainstream, there's only a select few that knew that those existed before. Again, that's something that you could easily buy on Amazon. And you wouldn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm. So this is just another one that actually, oh, yep, I'm over 21. You can get in. This one actually just, I mean, we talk about vape pens, but this is actually a pen. I was going to find the pen.
I'm like,
here it is. So this is actually a pen. So that's just something. Any of the districts seen anything like that yet? It's one of those things, maybe, and we didn't even know it. And it's okay to feel a little bit ignorant when we're talking about this stuff, because quite honestly, until I find out about the stuff the day of, I do too. And that's why we're ultimately meeting today and talking about this stuff. And finally, I did want to talk about one more product called IQOS. This is called a heated tobacco product. It's different than an e-cigarette. It's different than a cigarette. It has just been legal to be sold in the United States. I don't believe it is being sold yet, but it has been approved by the FDA. And unfortunately, they did approve to sell menthol flavor, which we know is a flavored tobacco product, and younger users tend to go to that menthol flavor first. So this is something that, I can play this video here. This is a device that actually has a cigarette in it, and the cigarette is inserted into the device, and then it heats it up. So the marketing tactic right now is that you're not inhaling that smoke, if you will. But I still don't know a lot about this. I'm not sure how this is going to affect our users or who the industry is going to target for this one, but it's also just something to be aware of.
Any idea on cost of that product?
I'm not sure, Ron. I would have to look into that. I'm guessing, I mean, I really don't know. Some of these fancier products, you know, like the Swarin, what was this, Melissa, around 30, 40? 35. Yeah, so, I mean, Juul is being referred to as the Apple or the iPhone of e-cigarettes, so I suspect something like this would be pretty pricey too.
eBay has them at 160.
150?
160.
60.
Yeah.
But it looks like there's other sites that are selling them at different places. I think one of the things to remember is that that's how that brand looks. There's probably 6 knockoff brands that are selling it now too, that are the same premise, same style, pretty much the same thing, except they don't have the same name. So those are going to be potentially less. But what we found with the Juul pods is that as Juul couldn't make their flavors anymore, so they still have, you'll still see mint on the stores. You still have these, which are knockoff brands, but they're not really a knockoff. It's not like they're any less potent. It's not like they're actually, some of them said, when we went to Rib Mountain Tobacco Outlet, if you want to go to a place that's not completely awkward to check out these products, it's not as bad. But they said that some of these are actually smoother than the Juul. So.
Something else I want to highlight too, you know, if this IQOS product does come up in conversation, maybe more with your adult peers, remind them of who is producing the products. If it's Philip Morris, one of the big 5 tobacco companies. So their intent has always been to make money. They don't care about humans getting sick. They care about making money.
Could you just speak on FDA approval? It's almost shocking for me to hear that the FDA approved that new device that's not yet available in U.S. markets.
Can you repeat the question then too to make sure it gets recorded?
Yes, so the question is, can I speak to the how the product came to be approved by the FDA and why maybe? So I was just looking on their website and it didn't say it was allowed in the U.S. yet, but I recently attended the National Tobacco Conference in August where there was someone from the FDA and the Public Health Law Center who confirmed that it was approved. So I don't know if there's a lag time between when it's actually going to be sold. And unfortunately, the FDA does know that these products are addictive, but I am not sure. I really can't speak for the FDA, but they're when they're looking at like the e-cigarette products, they're going to regulate these in May is what we were informed of. They're not necessarily looking for safety. They're looking, I'm not sure what they're looking for, but that's just something to be aware of. Just like it's similar to supplements.
Yeah. So essentially, the FDA doesn't stop products from coming on the market. When you started seeing Juul being advertised, can you pick me up, okay? When you start seeing Juul being advertised in December, it was within 2 weeks that Altria, which is the parent company of Philip Morris, bought out Stake, bought their public shares. So they had some ownership there. That's the first time we saw those being advertised. There's another vaping company that's been advertising on TV too. It's not the IQOS, begins with an A, and I was trying to find it. It's like AOUS. It looks very similar device.
Mm-hmm.
My kid said, well, why can they advertise those on TV? I'm like, I don't know. But what happened is the major broadcasting companies, for CBS, Viacom, and Warner Media, as of September 19th, pulled all vaping ads off their TV. They no longer do it. So if you saw them before, you probably don't see them anymore. And that actually includes a lot of channels that are popular amongst youth, like Comedy Central, BET, MTV, and others. So that's going to hit some of your broadcast stations. So that's one of the things, you know, as far as FDA approval goes, unless there's a claim, like if Juul said this is a device for cessation, and they're promoting it as a tool for cessation, the FDA has not approved that. So the FDA said, Juul, you need to stop saying this. So then they had to change their advertisements to stop saying to use the Juul for cessation. So the minute that you say it's for some sort of health benefit is when the FDA will say, nope, this is unfounded claims, and it goes back. So how this product got moved through the FDA process, most likely, is that they were upfront right away and said, this is our product, this is what we're selling. But again, what's getting put in those products is unregulated. So all they did was approve the device itself.
It's complicated.
The FDA actually has a great description on how things get moved through the process. They have an FAQ, frequently asked questions document. It's about 40 pages long, but good reading.
Mm-hmm. So something else that is not regulated is the flavors of these products. So we know that youth are attracted to flavors. And we've heard the arguments. In fact, I've seen them in other news stories that adults have said, well, we like flavors too. Well, that's all fine and great, but the percentage of adult users compared to youth users is significantly different. So that argument, you know, while it may be their story, we know that youth really like these flavors too. And in fact, 9 out of 10 users in Wisconsin wouldn't try the products if they weren't flavored. So the way that the marketing works is that the advertising is leading the horse to the water, the flavors are making the youth drink, and the nicotine is really what keeps them coming back for more. Unfortunately, some of these kids, which you've probably heard, you know, they try the products once and just like that, they're addicted. And we know with addiction, not everyone that's going to try is going to be addicted instantly, but it's the ones that try one time that, you know, then it just changes the trajectory of their life. That's really, you know, what we're concerned about. So we have to talk about Juul because we just have to. This really has been the reason why there has been an e-cigarette overload with youth in the U.S. It's the most commonly used product in the U.S. And I'm going to play a video here to just kind of explain how it all began, because I learned some stuff from it that I didn't know, and I think you will.
New developments tonight in those mysterious lung illnesses linked to e-cigarettes.
Vaping is dangerous.
We can't allow people to get sick, and we can't have our youth be so affected.
As fear about e-cigarette use escalates, the company at the center of the storm is Juul. Although it has actually not been directly implicated in the reports of death and diseases, and the FDA and other researchers have pointed to off-brand products linked to vaping marijuana, the $38 billion e-cigarette maker dominates the market today. And it got there in part because of its appeal to teenagers.
The first thing that came to my mind was, this is nothing like a cigarette. Looks really sleek, smells good in a way, doesn't hurt your throat because it's just really smooth when you hit it. You can literally Juul under a desk and not get caught.
We're dealing with a product that is more addictive than any product we've marketed to kids in decades.
You can go to any social group and you will find at least one kid in each group that uses a Juul.
Juul isn't just owned by Big Tobacco, it is Big Tobacco today, isn't it, Ms. Gold?
No, I don't agree with that at all.
We're going to respectively disagree.
Even now, people still don't have an idea of what's in it.
Since the first Juul electronic cigarette launched in June 2015, its widespread appeal has allowed the company to dominate the market.
Did the presenter ever say that Juul was safe?
Yes.
American kids had almost stopped using tobacco products before e-cigarettes, but from 2017 to 2018, youth tobacco use surged, which caught the attention of regulators. Juul's marketing tactics came under scrutiny, culminating in multiple investigations and a congressional hearing.
For my classmates who were already vaping, it was a sigh of relief because now they were able to vape without any concern. We have these mental health seminars at the school. A Juul representative came in. He would start every sentence by saying, Juul is completely safe, but we don't want you as customers. He actually pulled his Juul out of his pocket, showed it to me, and called it the iPhone of vapes.
And my son came home knowing that this was wrong. These are kids who would otherwise not have been initiated into tobacco use.
Juul didn't run a summer camp, did it?
There were a number of grants that were made to several programs. They were all focused on youth prevention or wellness.
The company said it ended those educational outreach programs in 2018.
Juul had a different tool than the old cigarette companies had, and that is social media.
Juul hired me 2 years ago, and I'm in my 30s, so I mean, I do look young, I have tattoos. I don't know, I honestly think that it wouldn't have mattered who promoted it because it looks so cool. It was always gonna speak to that market.
Juul has since ended its social media promotions, even shutting down its Facebook and Instagram accounts in 2018. But that did not seem to stop young people from voluntarily advertising it to their peers.
I've never seen a Juul ad, to be 100% honest. I've seen famous people Juul. A lot of my experience with Juul come from peer-to-peer.
We don't know, to be honest, the long-term effects yet of folks who are using these electronic nicotine delivery systems. We know that nicotine can be harmful in a lot of ways and increases the risk for addiction and impacts the vasculature and all sorts of other risk factors. And all the reports are very concerning. More and more adolescents, presenting with lung disease or serious other medical consequences, which seem to be linked to their use of these products. And so we're worried that as time goes on, we'll see more and more complications.
Juul has always positioned itself as a safer alternative to cigarettes, saying its devices contain fewer cancer-causing chemicals. But in September, the FDA cracked down on its claims. The agency warned Juul to stop marketing itself as less harmful than cigarettes without authorization to do so, threatening fines and product seizures if it continued. Still, some doctors do believe e-cigarettes can offer huge potential for public health.
We may have to accept some addiction, but to a product that doesn't kill you. We have 500,000 smokers in America dying every year from cigarette smoke, not from nicotine.
In September, mounting pressure from concerned parents, as well as reports of vaping-related illnesses, led the Trump administration to draft a plan to remove flavored e-cigarettes from the market.
Teens try new products, and we have deadly cigarettes on the market in every mom and pop store. So to me, it kind of doesn't make sense to remove a much less harmful product from the market while leaving the most lethal product, the cigarette, on the market.
For every one adult who would potentially quit by using an e-cigarette like Juul, you have 80 kids who will be initiated into the use of tobacco products.
I think my generation is kind of sadly already going to be seen as the generation of damage control, because it would be a miracle if kids would stop juuling with the current level of addiction they're at.
So since that video has been created, we have heard in the news that there has been some deaths related to these products, and a lot of people are sick right now. And before I move on, I do want to show you a couple other things here. This next video is from the Truth Initiative that shows just what the same story talked about, but it shows it in a really interesting way that it might be something you want to consider showing youth that you work with. I'm not sure if it will, I don't know how it will resonate with them, and especially if there are users that are looking to try to quit, it might not be the best avenue, but either way, I want you to see it today. And the Truth Initiative is a really great resource too, if that's something that you're looking for as well.
In case you're new, everyone at my school, Jules. Something that is literally sweeping the nation. Everywhere I go, it is a whole thing.
Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your
Today's video is gonna be a Juul sesh. We got the mango pod,
the cool cucumber, fruit medley.
I've got this creme pod because I thought it would be festive.
It tastes great.
Well, if you want a head rush, definitely the Juul.
That's really strong.
My God, bro, give me the biggest neck buzz.
Oh my God. The Juul challenge. You gotta hit this thing as many times as you can.
We're doing the Juul Hotbox Insane Nick Buzz Challenge, you dig?
I got some accessories.
Juul wraps. Type in charging case for Juul.
Rolo bag.
Soaring drop.
Ghost stick.
This one is watermelon. It is literally so good.
It's a little overwhelming.
See, that's the first time I've seen that video, though. And I think that if you're trying to get the attention of young people, I'm not that young anymore, not even close, but even just as adults, when you see that, I think sometimes we're taken aback to how quickly a message can spread. And this just reiterates, if you're not familiar with social media, or if you go on Facebook once a week, you're probably not going to realize just how quickly any message can spread.
Mm-hmm. So switching gears a little bit, and I will get off my Juul soapbox shortly, but I just think this is so important for us to take away today. Since all of this has happened and the news has blown up about Juul and youth targeting claims with advertisement, they've kind of switched their tactics and have geared their marketing more towards an adult audience. And you've probably seen commercials or heard on the news that it's an alternative to smoking. And so I'm going to show you a couple more clips here. Bear with me. I like the change up in videos so I don't have to talk the whole time. You can see there's going to be an ad from the Tips from Former Smokers campaign from the CDC that promotes the quit line for users that are trying to quit their nicotine addiction. And then I'm going to show you a Juul commercial, and then I want to hear your reactions of that. And then while I do that, Jenny had shared with me one of the mailers that were sent to her from Juul, so I want to pass that around too and highlight, you know, like I said, they have switched their marketing tactics, so you can see what I mean by that when you take a peek at this.
I quit smoking, but I'd still get those cravings. So I talked to my doctor, and with counseling, exercise, and using the nicotine patch and gum, I quit for good. My tip is, get help to find the best way for you to quit smoking.
Before you have to replace your voice box.
That lady was actually at the national conference in August advocating for nicotine and tobacco prevention. So this is the Juul commercial.
When I had my brother take me places, it was always like, we have to get there early so I can smoke a cigarette before we go inside. I'm in pain. I'm a little sister.
We always have to stop for cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. Get up first thing, smoke a cigarette. Before lunch, after lunch, another one on the way home, before dinner, after dinner. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm kind of feeling like I've lost about 4 hours of every day.
I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah, I know. I decided I needed to find an alternative. So I started looking, and then Juul came up. I did both for a while. Eventually, I just switched over, and it's very quick. I honestly feel like I remember recently you asking me, like, did you want to smoke before we go in? And I was like, no, I don't need to.
The other one I was trying to think of, it's Views, Alto. And I think this is one that you guys probably have seen online. And are you going to talk about the difference between mods and Juul, right? The terminology.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the one that you've probably also, this one I've seen a ton.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Innovation has changed the world, moving us all forward. Isn't it time smoking changed too? At Views, we push the possibilities of vapor so that every decision, every detail goes into creating what smokers really want. Real draw, real taste, real satisfaction. Views Alto. The perfect puff is here.
Remember, that is the one that is advertised pretty heavily now. So Juul's getting all the heat, but all these other companies, they're the same companies. All these other products are starting to kind of pick up where Juul's getting knocked down.
Mm-hmm. What are your reactions watching that series of video clips?
The one with the teens, that Juul one, it was so fast paced and everything. I could totally see how kids would be like, wow, that's really cool, I want to try it.
Mm-hmm.
So just like that, they can try it.
Yeah.
That, you know, just that fast pace. They were really smart on how they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent, as a grandparent, it annoys the heck out of me.
Yeah.
So it's really concerning for me
mm-hmm.
because, like I said, my nephew's son is just turned 19, and he's got friends that come over and they're smoking more than just nicotine out of those.
Mm-hmm. Other reactions? The first time I saw the Juul commercial for an adult looking to quit, I thought it was a Tips from Former Smokers ad before they really got into it. It's really warm and fuzzy, isn't it? It's all intentional. They know what they're doing. And just the dramatic shift in the marketing and advertisements was really eye-opening for me. I was around for a hot second when smoking was still allowed in restaurants and things, but you know, some of you who have worked, I'm looking at Ron here, that have worked in prevention and worked on clean indoor air initiatives. I know, you know, Melissa, I'm even looking at, they're shaking their heads and they're just disappointed that, you know, this is happening now after all the work that was done with tobacco prevention. And then just moving on in terms of e-liquid, this is another product that you should know that is not regulated. We have some of these products up front. I think I will pass them around if you'd like to take a peek. Or a smell.
I was gonna say, yeah, I guess I would recommend not necessarily, if you open them, don't get it on your hands because nicotine can absorb through your skin. I made that mistake one day, so I guess maybe, I don't know if we want to, check them out. If you
you don't need to open them. You can smell them from the outside.
Just don't get it on your hands. If you do, wash them.
Yeah.
You might get some some chest palpitations. You might feel anxiety.
So I think, do we want to take a break from videos, or are we okay with videos? Visual learners? Yeah. Okay. So some things to know about the products is that there has been some studies that have shown that even though some of the products say 0 grams of nicotine, there has been trace amounts of nicotine in the products. And there have been chemicals found in the products that are the same chemicals in cigarettes that are linked with cancer. So if you do hear the argument from youth or anybody that the products are not, you know, that they're perfectly safe, that's what we know about them. And they're highly toxic. So this is another product Melissa pointed to me. There's actually just like straight nicotine that a user could purchase. So like if you're seeing in the schools, you know, maybe a school resource officer confiscates a product and it says 0 grams of nicotine in the product. First of all, we go back to that it's not regulated, but you can buy something like this, put in the 0 milligrams of nicotine e-liquid, and then there you have your nicotine containing product.
Do you think the kids, and it says not to, but I mean, what's to stop you from taking it? I mean, what would happen if you just put that on your tongue?
Yeah, it's highly toxic, and that's what I'm going to show you right now, is that even beyond inhaling vaping, speaking more about our little kids, it's very dangerous to have them exposed to the products, and in fact, if they ingest a small amount, it could actually kill them. So I'm going to go ahead and play that.
And they're not childproof.
So they actually are, Melissa. Now they are.
Now they are?
Yeah.
Good.
I believe. We'll see
If
in
you,
this.
this is another way. So even if they ban the Juul pods, for example, the flavored pods, and they say no more making these, you can tamper with these and put anything you want in them.
Mhm.
So these juices, they haven't talked about banning the flavored juices yet. They were just focusing a lot on these pods, the pre-fill. So you can really use something like this and put whatever you want in a lot of these devices. You fill them yourself.
Yeah.
But we have had kids locally end up in the emergency room over the last number of years due to ingesting the vape juice.
I will warn you that this video is a little outdated, but the message is still the same.
In poison centers like this, daily calls continue to demonstrate the dangers of liquid nicotine and e-cigarettes for young children.
From January 2012 to April 2017, there were more than 8,200 calls to U.S. poison control centers about children younger than age 6 who had been exposed to liquid nicotine. That's 4 children a day.
Dr. Gary Smith's team at Nationwide Children's Hospital found that more than 90% of children are exposed to liquid nicotine by swallowing it. This can result in serious outcomes.
When the serious clinical effects occurred, they include things like coma, seizures, some children stopped breathing, and there was even 1 death.
The Child Nicotine Poisoning Prevention Act that went into effect in July 2016 may have helped. In the 9 months that followed, there was a nearly 20% decrease in the monthly number of exposures. But experts are calling for more to be done.
Additional regulation of this product is needed. Children are still being exposed far too often.
Smith says regulations should include adding flow restrictors to liquid nicotine refill bottles and child-resistant chambers to e-cigarettes. He's also urging the FDA to limit the volume and concentration of liquid nicotine in refill containers to a sublethal dose and to prohibit flavors and attractive labeling for liquid nicotine, as was done for cigarettes.
Liquid nicotine is highly toxic and in very small amounts can cause serious health effects, including even death.
At Nationwide Children's Hospital, this is Barb Consiglio reporting.
Does that get at your question? Yeah. Okay, so I believe in this article it does say that somewhere along the lines it was required to create a child safety cap on those products, but that doesn't mean that it's not occurring. So with these products, a lot of them are created with nicotine salts, which just allows the user to use the product and it has a less harsh taste like traditional cigarettes do. So that's something that is just more of an awareness piece. The products have been created differently and manipulated, so that is what we're looking at now. Does anyone, I have to ask the question because it's kind of fun, does anyone know what nicotine is actually used for in its natural state in the tobacco plant? It's a pesticide. It's actually used to kill bugs in the tobacco plant. So that's always interesting to me. So these are some little short commercials that the Real Cost is coming out with that you may want to use if you are working with youth. This is something that can be found online, and like Melissa said, I will definitely share this presentation too. We're all about not reinventing the wheel, so if you can take bits and pieces from this, please do so.
And one thing about these Real Cost videos is your kids are already seeing them. If they're playing games, they're getting ads, they're getting these. So you already have the opportunity to talk with them about what they're seeing.
There's an epidemic spreading. Scientists say it can change your brain. It can release dangerous chemicals like formaldehyde into your bloodstream. It can expose your lungs to acrolein, which can cause irreversible damage. It's not a parasite, not a virus, not an infection. It's vaping.
Some people think that vaping is no big deal, but that is just an illusion.
Do you vape?
Yeah.
You do? Do you have a vape with you today?
Yeah.
I see. Oh, okay, cool. I want you to hold your hand up for me. I'm gonna take the vape like this. I'm gonna put it into your hand, like that. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do, okay? Okay, here we go. Watch very carefully. Boom. Did you know that if you vape, you're more likely to start smoking cigarettes? It's not magic. It's statistics.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Escape the vape.
Formaldehyde.
Diethylene glycol.
Propylene glycol.
Nicotine.
Diacetyl.
Arsenic.
Cadmium.
Fluorine. Aluminum.
Lithium.
Rubidium.
Lead.
Do you think the vapes are really just water?
For more information, visit safeinnorthernmichigan.com.
So these are some of the cool ads that I use often in my presentations that they're already out there, so we should use them and we can use them. So the burning question is, what do we know about the vaping illnesses in the U.S. And where can we find more information? So the CDC has been my best friend in the last couple weeks. This is where you can go to find the most up-to-date information on vaping illnesses. So what we know as of September 27th is that there has been 12 confirmed deaths in the U.S. and 805 cases. So this is something that I've been looking at almost daily. I think they might be updating it weekly, but it has a nice summary of what we know and then what we don't know. So the CDC has not confirmed or denied a specific substance, product, or device that has caused all of these diseases. So that's something to be aware of if you've been hearing. What we do know, though, is that 77% have contained THC containing products. Some have contained just nicotine, some have contained nicotine and THC, and some in Wisconsin and Illinois have contained CBD oil. So that brings me to my next point, is that these devices are really the gateway to inhale any substance that the user can get in these products that can go in liquid form. Maybe not even liquid form. I think we've had an image at one of our presentations where there was little pieces of crystal meth that could be inserted too. So it's just something to be aware of as well. You might have seen or heard in the news in Wisconsin, there was some people down south that were arrested for producing THC containing cartridges. So we've had the question, you know, are those what's causing the illnesses in Wisconsin? We really can't say for sure. But what we know at this time is that the recommendation is to not use the e-cigarettes, which is what we've been saying all along. So it's unfortunate that we've been seeing these cases pop up, but it is a reminder, and hopefully gets the point across from some users that the products, you know, have been dangerous. Does anybody have questions so far? Yes.
Yeah, so I'm putting both my professional cat and my parent cat on because I have little ones.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, we had Bear and we were learning about drugs and different ways to use those drugs, but in today's world, things are so different. So how can parents keep up with what's new on the market and ensure that our kids are aware, as well as that we're aware, to keep up with these trends? It's very disturbing and it's concerning.
Yeah, I agree. I'll start by giving a shameless plug for Melissa's updates, AOD updates that are weekly, and our coalition updates that are monthly. We try to stay informed of the most up-to-date information, what's been in the news, what's online, what's hot, and then we'll put it into our updates. So for those of you that are not already getting the updates, please sign up for them. And then also, we have Tobacco is Changing as a campaign in Wisconsin. I'll talk about that more at the end. That's a nice local resource that you can go to stay informed of what are the products, how do you talk to the kids, and then how do you know about the issues. So just things like that to stay up to date. But there's stuff that, like I said, that watch, that I didn't learn about that until Melissa had it in one of her updates. And then I sent it to our folks that work at DHS in the tobacco program, and they had no idea. So if they don't know and we don't know, you know, how are our parents supposed to know? So that's really what we're doing. So.
You know, a couple of good resources, I think, to keep up to date, and I know we're going to get into some of what's been posted through some of our partners at state and federal level. Urban Dictionary, Great place to go to get information. Interesting and read. You may not be able to get it, depending on where you work. You may not be able to get there, but you can also you can see discussion boards on that as well as Reddit, REDDIT. You can see discussion boards on this. Vaping has been around for, I think the Vice Channel did something on vaping marijuana in 2013. So it's been around in the drug world for a long time. It took a long time for the rest of us to catch up. One other thing, urbanthesaurus.org. So we have Urban Dictionary and Urban Thesaurus. That's where you're going to want to go to find your slang. Literally, I just put e-cigarette in there, and this is just a portion of what's popped up.
Can you say that again, Melissa, what that resource is?
urbanthesaurus.org.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just recently, I've heard on the radio ads for a product, I believe it's called Blue, tobacco pouches.
Oh boy. To take the place of chewing?
I didn't, it's just a short ad, and I wasn't paying full attention, but I'm wondering if that's it. It says all tobacco.
Okay.
100% tobacco. It'll last the whole day.
And Blue is actually, that's not what I need. Blue is actually the original e-cig.
Yeah, so I just wonder if you have any information on that. Is that in the with the hype of the vaping? Is this a company that's sneaking in with an alternative product, to kind of catch the market?
That could be the case. I have seen the tobacco pouches before that are essentially chewing tobacco that are just in the small
it says
little pouches. Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's the same. It's the same. It looks the same as Juul pods.
Same deal, huh?
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
So I guess that's something we'll have to do our homework on when we leave today, Ron. Thank you. So this tobacco is changing website, I just pulled it up for those that are looking to learn more about the products. There's also an update on the vaping illnesses, some videos, fast facts. This is a really great resource that's specific to Wisconsin that you can go to. So in terms of what's happening in Wisconsin, there's a lot of different things that have been going on, not only in our state, but also nationally, that I did want to bring to your attention today. So in terms of taxes, e-cigarettes don't have the same type of tax that traditional cigarettes do. In Wisconsin, we have one of the highest taxes, actually. That's one thing that we get graded pretty high on when the American Lung does their assessment each year. Our taxes are about $2.52 a pack for cigarettes. E-cigarettes just were required to have like a 5.5 cent tax on their e-liquids per milliliter or something like that, but it's not a lot, so just something to be aware of. The idea of raising the tobacco age to 21 is being considered in the state of Wisconsin. This has passed in many other states. While this on its own could be effective when addressing youth tobacco use, it doesn't get at the heart of the issue, which is really the flavors. And something else that's related to Tobacco 21 that's concerning is that none of the e-cigarette businesses in Wisconsin don't have to have a license right now. So that's something that that surprised me when I found that out. Federally, they are looking at a flavor ban nationally. There's no timeline on that. It's just like a lot of things that come out in the news and say, we're going to take action on this. And it's like, okay, but when? So we'll keep you informed through our updates on that, but that's all I know about that. And in Wisconsin, there are some local governments that are writing resolutions to the state of Wisconsin in support of a flavor ban. Locally, though, because Wisconsin has this thing called preemption, no local municipality or village or township can pass an ordinance saying we're going to ban flavors. So I recently had that happen. We were contacted with a local village saying we want to pass a flavor ban, let's do it. And I said, well, that's all sounds great, but you can't in Wisconsin. just like the product placement. You can't regulate it locally. Some states can do that, so that's where they get more leverage. But clean indoor air is something that can take place locally and get updated. So how the Clean Indoor Air Act came about in Wisconsin was that local governments decided to take action on it. So right now, local governments are looking to include e-cigarettes in their clean indoor air. And in the state as a whole, they're looking at updating their law as well. So not sure where that's at this time. There hasn't been a lot of leverage around that, but it is something that Wisconsin is looking at. And other than that, just in terms of school districts in here, if I have not talked to you yet, and if you want to work closer with me after this meeting, I'm happy to do a roundtable discussion or presentation for your adult staff. That is perfectly fine. But locally, we are working with districts to try to get them the most up-to-date information so they have the resources they need, and youth serving organizations too, because it really is all relevant. Something I did want to mention that I heard at the conference in August is that the FDA is going to require e-cigarette companies to submit applications in the spring of 2020 for the products to be regulated. So before that happened, it was going to be in 2022. So the good news is they moved the timeline up. The bad news is there's millions of teens already addicted to nicotine. So with that, we're going to move into resources. Before I do that, is there any burning questions? Okay. In-Depth is a program we are promoting to schools and youth serving organizations. It's an alternative to punitive punishment. Unfortunately, a lot of our districts, and this is pretty much the norm, that suspension is pretty normal if a kid is caught with tobacco. But unfortunately, that doesn't address the issue of addiction. So the American Lung has offered this free program to anybody that's looking to have an option for kids for alternative punishment to suspension. So if that's something you want to learn more about, I'm happy to talk with you after the meeting. But I'm happy to really talk with anybody if you feel like your district should know more about this. That's something that we can definitely discuss. So the curriculum is free, the training is free. What does have more of a time investment is having a facilitator who's willing to facilitate those 4 50-minute sessions. And that's all flexible too. This is a flyer that's available, resources for youth. We have copies up front, and then we'll also have them in that folder that we're going to share, or that we have shared on the AOD website. And then in terms of resources for schools, these are 2 really good curriculum that are free regarding e-cigarette prevention. Catch My Breath and Stanford Medicine Toolkit.
So one thing to point out here is there's a discussion actually happening on a national level of what programs can you implement in school, what's a good use. And if you go out and you stop at whatever your Google search ends up with the first one, be wary. Because there are, just like there was back in the day when Boys and Girls Clubs were getting large grants from the tobacco companies to do their Smart Moves program, the messages are intended to say this, don't do this is an adult activity. What else is a kid going to do when you tell them, don't do this, it's an adult activity, right? So there's a lot of different programs because people are seeing this as a great money grab opportunity. Be wary. Talk to Jenna, do your research, find out what funded the research behind the programs, who's behind the programs, what their messages are, because like if you do search for it, you're going to get a ton of different things that are being proposed.
And for a while, I'm glad you brought that up, because for a while Jewel was going into schools and saying that they have a youth presentation about tobacco prevention. Seems kind of contradictory. There is a resource on the CDC website that's specific for presenting to youth. So this is for an adult presenting to youth. If you just Google CDC e-cigarette presentation for youth, this is something that's available. Unfortunately, one of my funding limitations is that I cannot go and present to youth. So if you're wondering, hey, come talk to my class after this, I unfortunately can't do that. but I can point you in the direction of the materials you might need to do that, or have another partner do that. This is really nice because you don't have to be an expert in e-cigarettes. It gives you the PowerPoint, the content, the talking points. It's all there for you to access. And then something else I learned at the conference that I just want to mention, that the session was about presenting to youth. So some things that they mentioned that resonate with youth or don't resonate with youth are the following. They do care about the chemicals that are in the product. They want to know, but we don't need to keep talking about that. So if we say, you know, formaldehyde is in the products, we don't need to keep talking about how it's found in dead bodies. They're gonna figure that out, or it's used to preserve dead bodies, okay? In case you didn't know that. They don't care so much about the tobacco history like some of us do that have been around for that. They're separating the e-cigarettes and cigarettes. What they do care about is that they could be being deceived by the markets, and they are being deceived. And they don't care as much about the increased use for cigarette use. So while I may say that in my media interview and to all of you, they're not susceptible to that. That's often the claim. What they do care about is that they don't want to be perceived as addicted. And something that they don't care about is how much money they're spending. So sometimes we're asked, well, how much money does this cost, and can we make an infographic on how much money is wasted? It's not something that will resonate with the general audience for youth groups. Okay, and then these are just some more resources that I think we highlighted most of them already. The Surgeon General tip sheet and some of the CDC handouts. Again, we have physical folders on the front table here that contain all of those resources, and also online as well.
And one of the resources that wasn't up there, drugabuse.gov also has information on it. It's a National Institute of Health site as well. They actually have the latest in the what's it called? The National, I can't even think, the Monitoring the Future College Students and Young Adult Survey. So this is for 19 to 22-year-olds. So while we're talking about youth, thinking of, you know, like high school and under, for college age students, what they've seen in the latest data that's been just posted there is that they've seen in the past month double marijuana vaping reported for college age students as well, and not very much difference in non-college students, but college bound or college attending students. Same thing, double for college attending students for nicotine vaping as well. So there is I'll be sending out some of these things on there too, but that is another resource.
So that's what I have. I want to make sure we got to some of the things that you mentioned in the beginning. Is there more discussion? Is there more things that we want to know about terminology of the products?
Do you want to talk about the mini grants too? We didn't add that up there.
Yes. Do you know more about that than I do? Marshfield Clinic is,
Sierra does.
Let's look. So Marshfield Clinic has sent out recently, maybe you know more about it since you guys are applying.
We're actually applying for the DPI.
Okay, not the mini grant. And I'm not sure on the deadline of that either.
They've been funded. So yes, there is funding becoming available often, as far as not only for issue specific, but I've seen funding also come out on if you want to know about, you know, doing in-services or major trainings on current trends. Like there's a lot of more resources. So if you're looking at doing something, I guess I just encourage you to reach out to Jenna or myself. We can help brainstorm in getting those resources for you, or helping to leverage those resources, or point in the general direction of where you can get them.
Mm-hmm. Your thoughts?
Is there anything left? Like, is there anything that you guys didn't get answered?
I don't want to leave out, I know one of you or maybe both of you in the back corner were talking about some terminology things. Did we answer your question in terms of where to find information on that? Or should we talk a little bit more about that?
We just know, they always call it juice. And we just didn't know if there's any other terms that...
And you guys probably know more than we do on that, honestly.
Urban Thesaurus has all kinds of stuff that I would hear back, like P-Funk. I mean, that was something that we talked about, Parliament cigarettes. And now they're referring to the vape devices on that as well. So that is probably one of the most comprehensive lists that I've seen. There's nothing on in the DA Drugs of Abuse book yet on vaping, but there is some of the alert sheets on some of those federal sites that do some references. It's just going to keep changing.
What's the youngest age that kids are vaping? Like, is there any statistics on where they're starting?
Was that middle school date?
No, generally we just have that age group of middle school. So that could be 6th to 8th grade, but that doesn't mean that 5th graders aren't trying or 4th graders aren't trying. So that's generally how our data comes, is in groups like that. Yeah.
And it's not just the nicotine products as well. My 12-year-old, well, he's 13. That's 10. He's 13 last year, so he was going to 8th grade this year. They ended up having a kid get sent home, a young girl getting sent home because she had THC in her Juul. So I mean, this is a 6th grader or 7th grader. So it is something that is available. Again, you don't know the difference. These devices, the Juuls, look just like the PAX, PAX, which is the marijuana delivery device that looks exactly the same as these. It's the same pods, can be used across different devices. Same thing with one of these. Again, another example. So I guess I invite you guys to come up, check out the devices, take a handle on them, see kind of what is available. Ask us questions. Jenna hinted at it. We're gonna have to have the conversation around CBD. So there's pre-filled CBD cartridges that you're gonna be finding in places. This is one of this. It's called this one's the Sticks brand, but this is a vape device. This is electronic delivery system. Did I get it right?
Yes.
I always shorten it. I'm simple like that. But this you wouldn't even know what you were looking at when you see it. So come up, check them out. They don't look like this anymore. That doesn't mean they aren't around. And they did show on the screen mods, which is another slang. So mods is just going to be a box on it. They're going to be more expensive. They're going to you're going to store more juice, whatever it is that you put in it. There's different formats. There's some that look like this. If you see these are not for nicotine. If you start seeing silicone in them when you take them apart, these are for dabs or marijuana waxes. So if you don't know, if you're not familiar with dabs, I can tell you right now, if you go to Vice, V-I-C-E, and there's a 2013 video on, it's kind of like, what's dabbing all about or something like that. And they actually show you how to make it, and they do a review. And that's 2013. So they've perfected their product. And I think Jenna mentioned too, as far as CBD, just kind of alluded to it, that again, you don't know what you're looking at, but once you start looking at some of these devices, we can't keep up. I got to secure more funding to go get some more devices, but this is another one that's adjustable. So come up, feel them, check them out. Thank you for your time. Anything else from you?
Nope. Thank you all for coming, and just keep fighting the good fight.
More resources, help yourself.